Hello aspirants and welcome again to Legacy IAS Academy. And let's continue with our detailed analysis of the economic survey. So far we have covered the first seven chapters. Now we move on to chapter 8, that is related to the industries. So with respect to the industries, the economic survey is talking about the next leap of our industrial sector, talks about structural transformation and the global integration. Now, before we move on to the detailed analysis of this chapter, we will look at a very important term that has been mentioned in the economic survey, that is the quality control orders. So what are these quality control orders? See, what has happened now is the quality control orders have increased considerably. However, there are certain chemicals, etc., for whom the quality control orders have been taken back. But these are very few in number. But if you look at the overall data, the quality control orders have increased considerably, and the economic survey says that because of this increased quality control orders, the quality in the industrial sector has improved, the safety has improved. So what are these quality control orders? Basically, see, there are certain things in which quality becomes of utmost importance, or you can say the safety becomes of utmost importance. For example, you might be having an iron at your house using which you iron your clothes. Now, in that iron, you should be checking for the ISI mark. This mark is what you should be checking. The electronic gadgets, or the electrical gadgets, I should say rather, the electrical gadgets like the fan, the ceiling fan, the table fan, the iron, even the helmets that you wear, they do contain the ISI marks. So it is the Indian standard mark that we are talking about. It is necessary. Now, what does this mark do? This mark ensures that whatever product you are using has followed the ISI standard that is there. Now, this ISI standards that are there, they are different for different products. Yes, and you have code for each of those things. So you will have an ISI standard for your helmets, for your iron, for your other electrical equipment, so on and so forth. In the same manner, when you would be buying, let's say for example, gold, you would also see the BIS standard mark or the stamp on it, which is Bureau of Indian Standards mark that is there. It ensures that the gold that you are buying is of the right quality and there is no dilution as such. Of course, the gold ornaments are not made up of complete pure gold. You generally get 22 carat. Yes, sometimes 24 carat will also be there, but generally 22 is used because gold in its purest form is quite soft of a metal, so it may get deformed. That is why you add other things and make an alloy wherein the purity of gold is sort of reduced in order to ensure that it is quite sturdy and strong and does not deform. So that is there. But the idea is, if there is a BIS mark, that means if you are getting gold of 22 carat, you have bought gold of 22 carat, it will belong to 22 carat only, as this BIS marks ensures it. So all these marks that are there, the hallmarks, the ISI, the BIS, actually ensure the quality and safety of the product. So the quality control order is basically the order, or basically it is the mandate that is issued by the Indian ministries, Indian government ministries, which is then enforced by the Bureau of Indian Standard. Now, what does it do? It ensures that the products conform to the specific quality as well as the safety standards. Quality is an umbrella term, so safety is a part of it, especially when the equipment are like electrical equipment. So this is the idea of the quality control order. Now, if there is failure to comply to this quality control order, of course there will be penalties. there can be seizure of the goods that are there under the Bureau of Indian Standards Act of 2016. So this becomes important. In fact, in 2016 there has been a question wherein UPSC gave you 3-4 products and then asked you as to which of the following consists of the the ISI mark. So this becomes again important. The theme can be repeated. Now let us move on to the detailed analysis of the chapter 8. So the very first histogram you see here is the quarter-on-quarter growth of the manufacturing output for the Q3 of 2020, manufacturing output for Q3 of 2025. So in Q3 of 2025, the economic survey compares different countries and regions with respect to the quarter-on-quarter output. So if you can see the idea is China is basically the production house of the world. But India is competing quite well with China. Of course, since the base of the China, production of China is already very high, 1.3% increase on their already high production is quite a lot, but India is still managing to compete with respect to the growth rate that is there. So China, you can see 1.3%, whereas India is also at 1.3. In Africa also it's quite high, but then the Asia and Oceania, excluding China, then this is North America, Europe, are all quite low over here. In fact, Latin America and the Caribbean are in the negative. So numbers are not important, but the trend is important. The region, how they are performing, is important. Next is the real industry gross value added. This has witnessed a clear recovery is what they are saying. So if you look at financial year 25, it was almost 6%. In the first half of 25, it went beyond 6%. And in the first half of 26, it has reached 7%. So there is a clear improvement over here. Then you have the sustained momentum in real manufacturing GVA growth. Now, what is this real manufacturing? See, in this manufacturing sector, when the physical products, of course, the physical products get created. So you're talking about the manufacturing of that. Real manufacturing is what you are talking about. So here it's talking about the momentum. So the momentum is sustained. That means if it is growing, it is continuing to grow. The momentum is not come to a halt. There is no stagnancy in the growth rate or a decline in the growth rate. The growth rate itself is increasing is what is mentioned over here. So it had gone down to 2.16, but since then you can clearly see there is a continuous increase in the growth rate. That is why it is said that the momentum is sustained over here. Next is India's seasonally adjusted global exports. Global exports of what? Of medium and high-tech manufactured products. So if you look at the medium and high-tech, see, it is really important that India exports medium or high-tech products to the other countries. See, what is happening is India is exporting a lot of goods, but the volume is high and the value is quite low. And a lot of the volume comes from the agricultural exports that India does, which gets us a very less amount of value. So it is really important then that we export high-tech things as well, which is going to earn a lot of value to us. Plus, when you are exporting agricultural produce, for example, rice, it requires a huge amount of water. 1 kg of rice production requires around 400 kgs of water. Now, because of that, India became a net exporter of water. We are exporting those things that are water intensive and importing those things which are not that water intensive. So on a net, we are exporting more water effectively to other countries than the water we are effectively importing from them. So the economic survey, long back, the economic survey has said that India is a net water exporting country, and which we remain even now. right? So it's very important with respect to the water scarcity, and if you look at in the terms of economy, it is really important with respect to the value of exports that we are doing. So this is in billions of dollars starting from 2021 right up to 2025. You can see that there has been a good increase. Of course there will be ups and downs because this is over a long period of time, and you have broken it down into 2 months gap. So there will be ups and downs, but the trend is clearly on the rise. Next is the optimism about the prospects continue to remain high. So to check the optimism, you have first here the purchasing managers index. This is the purchasing managers index. We have seen this in the services sector chapter as well. Purchasing managers index is brought out differently for the industry as well as the services sector, wherein 500 purchasing managers are surveyed, and based on that you estimate what are the prospects in the economy. Now this data comes before time, in the sense that the next month's data will come. So this gives us a clear or a proper indication or a hint as to what is there in store for us. So here you have the manufacturing PMI. If you look at the manufacturing PMI, it is above the 50 mark consistently. That means it is quite optimistic. On the other hand, if you look at the business expectation index, now for the business expectation index to be optimistic, it needs to be beyond 100, and pessimism means less than 100. So here also it is consistently above the 100 mark, though it did go down over here, but then again it is on the rise. So this is also on the rise. You should remember the business expectation index. This has a threshold of 100. So that is also giving a very optimistic outlook for our industrial sector. Next is the concept of the installed capacity, production and capacity utilization of cement industry. See, if you have the installed capacity and you also know the production, you can calculate the efficiency. For example, if you have an installed capacity of 100 units and you are producing 80, that means the efficiency is 80. That 20 that is left is the unutilized potential that is there. So if you look at the installed capacity is given in blue, the cement production is given in green, and the capacity utilization, which you can read it from here. So you have, let's say, the installed capacity has consistently increased, whereas if you look at the cement production, it increased, then slight decline, increased, then again decline, then it has increased, right? So the trend is towards the increment only. Now if you look at over here, for example, this is over 400, utilization is less than 300, so the efficiency is quite low. You can say less than 75% is the efficiency. Yes, less than 75. So we have this efficiency being the highest, but the efficiency has gone down, again a decline, and it has sort of stabilized round about here, which is 65. So the efficiency of the system of production for cement has not been consistently increasing. It has seen its ups and downs. In fact, it is lower than what it was in financial year 16. So that is a problem. We are having increased installed capacity, but the production is down, as a result of which the efficiency is also down. We can better utilize that. Next is the finished steel production, its consumption, and then you have exports and imports. Now the thing is, if you look at this particular graph, so your production is in blue and your consumption is in green. So now when the production is high and the consumption is low, then what you have, exports and imports. So export is red and imports are orange. So when consumption is high, production is low, why do we have to export and import? We can simply first satisfy our needs, and if something remaining, we send it out. Why do you still see consistent high amounts of export and imports? That is because here we are talking about steel production in general, but there are different kinds of steel that is there, different quality, different variety, different strength. There is wrought iron, there is cast iron, so on and so forth. As a result of which we would need certain kinds of steel, as a result of which we have to import it, and the other kind of steel which we don't need, we have surplus of, we can export it as well. That is why even though the production is higher than consumption, you will still see the export and import that is there. Now if you look at the exports, so the exports of steel has seen ups and downs. So always whenever you are looking for a graph of last 10 years, always see if there is any graph which has consistently increased or consistently decreased, that you have to remember. Others you should know that they have seen their ups and downs. So here also there are ups and downs. Now the exports have actually gone down. It has reached to almost the same level as it was. There was an increase, but now it is down. Okay. But the reason for being down at times is also the fact that the government would ban the export of the steel in order to ensure first that the domestic demand is met. So keep that also in mind. Next is the imports. So imports also have seen ups and downs. It is on the higher trajectory as such over here. And this is for financial year 26. We are expecting almost the same amount of production and consumption. Now this is about coal, the domestic production, consumption and import. Here clearly the production is less and the consumption is high. So production given in blue, consumption in green. So you can see production has increased, but consumption of course also has increased, as a result of which there has to be an import, and import is given by this line. So clearly coal production is less and its consumption is basically high. If you talk about the capital goods, the production, export and imports. So production again is given in this. This is your production, and then you are talking about the export and import. See, because it is the capital goods, there are n number of capital goods, right? So we have taken, the economic survey have taken their production in general, but still talks about that the export is there, which is lesser than what the imports are there, which has increased. Now that is not much of a problem as such, in the sense that of course you will be giving more foreign exchange to the other country to buy it, but these are capital goods which will help you produce more and more in the coming years. So that is a good thing. Next is the growth of electronic production and exports. So electronic production has increased consistently. Their imports, if you look at, imports have also increased and their exports have also increased. Imports will also increase because the people's per capita income also keeps on increasing, as a result of which people would also want to buy more and more of imported electronic materials as well. Next is the growing exports of the pharmaceutical industry. This is quite good. In fact, India wants to become the pharmacy of the world. So here we see a consistent growth in the pharmaceutical production. And then the last one talks about the textiles and apparels. So if you look at the export have been almost the same. Import has slightly increased. In the textile sector, Vietnam and Bangladesh gives us a tough competition, especially because there are sweatshops over there wherein in small areas hundreds of people are working with very low amount of salary and in humane condition, providing very cheap labor, extremely cheap labor, making the textile even cheaper to be produced in Vietnam and Bangladesh. We are competing with them, along with ensuring that the workers also get a fair share of remuneration. And then here you have the different kinds of textile. First is, you can remember that the ready-made garment is the highest, then comes cotton textile, and then there are the other things. So the top two is what you should remember. So this is about the 8th chapter with respect to the industries, majorly about the production, I repeat again, percentages are not important. What is important basically is the top 2 3 you should know. What is the trend is what you should know. The concept of the term of quality control order that we have seen, any such concept that is there, that you should know. So that's about it from this chapter. See you again in the 9th chapter. In the meanwhile, like, share and subscribe to Legacy IS Academy so that you can get notified whenever we bring out our videos. Thank you.